the 26th of November. That is hard to believe. Almost Christmas time. You've got the Christmas music on the radio now. That's even crazier. Anyway, it's the 26th of November, Monday, 2018, 11:41 a.m. Central Standard Time. Joining me today is Jessica Haney. Jessica, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Jessica is going to share part of her story. As you know, we've been doing a Get to Know You profile interview series here for Evangel Radio. And one of the things that I've enjoyed being able to do this is getting to see what people are passionate about, what drives them, why they think the way they think, what they want to accomplish, their dreams, their goals, how God has worked in and through them in their life and in their time here at Evangel. So my hope is that within the next 20 minutes, you'll be able to see how God has worked in and through Jessica and what she's enjoyed about her time here at Evangel. So let's start with where you're from. Where are you from?
I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. What's your favorite thing about Tulsa?
My favorite thing about Tulsa, I think, is downtown. It's really grown a lot and become a little more urban and bustling, so.
Very cool. You know, it's one of those things when you come from an area that has grown, or it wasn't as big as it is now. It's really neat to see how things do grow and how time changes things.
Yeah, it's been really exciting.
Cool. And so how has it grown? Just industry-wise or more restaurants? What have you been seeing?
Tulsa just released The Gathering Place, which is essentially a big park with lots of recreational areas and playgrounds and boating and bike trails, which really has grown the community, places for shows, and they've kind of scattered things of similar natures around the area, trying to create more diversity of the people that live there and things we can do.
Cool. Yeah, the most that I've done in Oklahoma, I've gone to a Thunder game.
Oh.
Very fun.
Yes.
And then went to the Oklahoma City Bombing Memorial.
Oh,
Have you been over there?
I have. It's
nice
been a
memorial.
few years, but yes, yeah.
It's very neat. So, what caused you to come to Springfield, Missouri, of all places, to go to school?
Evangel is the reason that I'm in Springfield. I came to Evangel originally because my mom wanted me to apply, and I resisted.
Did your mom go to Evangel?
She did not.
Okay.
I'm first generation college.
Okay.
So, we knew a few friends who had come here, and my mom loved it, and I was like, okay, Mom, thank you, but I'm going to do what I want to do. And then I came, visited, and just fell in love with the programs and the opportunities in the area. And so I was like, okay, my mom might have been right about this one.
That's generally how I felt. I was like, I don't know if I want to be here. And my parents were like, oh, you really should look into that. And I did, and I still wasn't sold. And now that I'm here, it's been really nice.
Yes, I agree.
So what is your major?
I'm a double major in psychology and criminal justice.
Okay, a double major.
Yes.
So I know you probably have a crazy schedule. You probably work and don't get much break time, I'm going to assume.
Yes, that's accurate.
What made you choose those two disciplines?
I started out as psychology with a criminal justice minor and didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then as I went through schooling and gained more experiences, I decided, you know what, I love criminal justice. I think it's important to the fields that I'm wanting to go in, even if I don't go into law enforcement, but just to be knowledgeable about the practices and procedures.
Yes.
And so I kind of added it as a for fun major, just because I could, honestly.
That's really neat. And for me, and you guys know I'm triple majoring, and I've thought now, because they discontinued the history major, but they would grandfather me in. I'm like, do I really want to get a history major at a school that doesn't even have a history major anymore?
Yeah.
But you know, probably better than most who only have one major, just how crazy it is to have to coordinate all that.
Yes.
Do you make sure that you're going to graduate on time, or do you need an extra semester? What all do you need? So what is your dream goal with those majors? What would you like to do?
I really just want to be a voice for those who don't have one. So whether that's in the capacity of being a voice in the court system or the courtroom, or being someone's voice and having listened to them in a counseling office, and then later having to testify for them in court and being their advocate. And so I don't know in what capacity exactly I'd love to do, but just as long as I'm serving those that can't speak up for themselves.
Being a voice.
Yes.
Awesome. And I would say that is one of the most Christian things that we can do, is be a voice for the voiceless. And I think you would agree with that. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing journalism. I want to see justice brought to the world. I want to see corruption exposed. And that's an interesting topic I hope we can get into a little bit later in the podcast. What is justice? We've been talking about that in political philosophy, and what I'm finding is everybody has a different opinion.
It's true.
There's no... And I don't think it's for a lack of truth on what justice is. I just think we can't really know all of the elements of what justice is. We're limited in our human mindset.
I'd agree. I think if you think of justice as a color, let's say blue, I might come at it from a more navy perspective, or you might come at it from like a periwinkle or a light blue perspective. It's just colored based on our experiences and our worldviews and personalities, but it could still be the same thing. It's just we are looking at it through different lenses.
Right. And that's an important thing. Your experience affects your perspective on things, and that would go for all things. So what is your favorite thing about Evangel in your time here?
I would say my favorite thing about Evangel is kind of the cliche answer of the community, but I think going a little deeper into the community, it's getting to know the professors and letting them get to know you, and allowing that resource to connect you off campus and into the community. It's really made Springfield feel a lot more like home. I feel a lot more involved in the campus and elsewhere. And so I think using that community as a resource to feel known, but also to know others.
And in that community, Evangel's great. We love it. It's a great school. We're a family. A lot of people say that. And I tell people who don't go here, it's not like we just say that. Like, most of us really believe that. It's not a cliche. It's not empty. What is one thing that you would change here at Evangel if you could?
If I could change one thing at Evangel, I think that I think I would try to just let people see the resources that they have, maybe up front. And whenever looking at Evangel, a lot of people said, the community is great.
Right.
But I think you have to keep in mind that you have to put an effort into becoming part of that community.
Right.
And that was something I didn't quite get. So maybe just being upfront about it when people are visiting, like, the community's great, but you have to get involved. And you have to get to know people, and you can't wait for people to seek you out, which is what I did. I waited for people to find me, and so I felt lost and disconnected from the community.
And do you think that we can almost be too involved in everything?
For sure. I think so. I see a lot of people who get involved in a lot of different things, which is totally fine, and I encourage that. But just making sure that you can give yourself 100% to all the things you're involved in, and realizing that if you're only giving 10% of yourself, or even 50%, maybe you should let somebody else take that position, because they could give more.
Right. And that only seems fair, and that's another word, fairness. Anyway, with all of that said, and you've enjoyed your time here, you're a junior here too, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
we forgot to cover that, but you are a junior. What is one thing that, of course, that's something you want to change? What would you say to incoming students to encourage them in their time here?
I think I would say be comfortable with meeting people outside of your major, outside of your dorms, just those people outside of your comfort zone, and say hi to people on the sidewalk. Sit with random people you don't know in the caf.
Ooh, it's a good challenge.
And also at the same time, it's okay to sit alone. But if you see someone sitting alone, invite them over. And I think just trying to look outside of yourself when being involved in that community, and realizing that there's a lot of really cool people that you just might not interact with. on a regular basis, but still getting to know them and putting intentionality behind
Right.
those relationships.
Getting outside of your department.
Yes, yeah.
And that's something even with this interview, guys. I think I had one class with you before political philosophy. I think
that's right.
I think it might have. Was it a Bible class?
I feel like it was.
Yes, I think so. And I think it was Essential Christianity, which would have been. You think? I think it's around there. But just even going off of what you were saying, there's so many people that we don't interact with. It's like you're a criminal justice and psychology major.
Yeah.
I'm obviously not in that department, but there's so much overlap. And I was telling Jessica this between journalism and investigative journalism, and then criminal justice, and working with the police, with the government, with the authorities. So I really would encourage what Jessica said, and the reason I'm making so much of it, I don't hear that answer very often. But there is power in that, going outside of your comfort zone and connecting with people whom you otherwise wouldn't really be connected with, and not because you don't like them or anything, but because you just don't see them. You know, so very, very good. On the topic of justice and fairness, if you had to sum up, and this is going to be interesting, if you had to sum up your view on justice in a few sentences,
Oh, man.
how would you do it?
That's a tough one. I would probably say that justice comes from the truth. And so when people are coming together and they're arguing over what is just and what is unjust, ultimately justice isn't about ourselves necessarily. It's about probably the community as a whole, but keeping in mind that individuals make up that community and they're important to it. And so in disagreeing over what constitutes justice, understanding that the things that we can agree on and the things that rise above all the murky confusing statements that are made or disagreeing statements that are made, that's the truth, and that's going to come out. And that's going to be what's ultimately just for the individuals that make up the broader community that we're a part of, which is a super broad answer.
Yes, but I mean, even for just that word, and like I said, you can have so many different opinions fly at you when you ask what it is. That was a very good summary. So
Thank you.
Good job. And we talked about this before we recorded this podcast. It was like last week. One of the things that we discussed was crime and punishment. I'm very justice oriented. I'm going to assume you're the same way, being in criminal justice.
I am.
And I've admittedly, my view on crime and punishment is largely affected by 21st century America. And not only that, but even just comic book fiction, superheroes. We have all these different things that fly at us, and I don't think any of those things are necessarily good or bad in essence. I think they all have things that we can benefit from and things that we need to just throw away and not hold on to. But one of the things that I've had to come to realize is that mercy and justice are not exclusive. I think they can work together. And you can be merciful by, I think we talked about lightening somebody's sentence, giving them less punishment than what they do deserve. Sometimes justice looks different. It's not throwing somebody in jail. It's rehabilitating them. You know, making sure that they don't do that again, or that they know that it was wrong. And I think that's an interesting concept. We have so many different things that we can do to punish, rather than throwing someone in jail. And so that's interesting in itself. What do you think determines that? Do you think it's all done on a case-by-case basis?
It's almost more categorized as the type of crime that's committed, and certain crimes have more of like a mandatory punishment of, you've done this, now we're going to lock you up. But there's a move that's coming forward within the criminal justice system that some crimes don't necessarily need to be locked up because of the nature of the crimes. And so the people that commit those crimes, a lot of them don't have education, they don't have resources, they came from a community that didn't teach them basic life skills or people skills. And so going more on that is, they wouldn't have committed that crime had they been given a little bit more knowledge of life in general.
Right.
And so, from a rehabilitation standpoint, some crimes are being categorized more into, they need medical attention, they need mental health attention, they need basic education or conflict resolution skills. And so going back and trying to help that individual overcome, which is a choice on their part, and if they're unwilling to participate, then maybe they do deserve to be locked up from society.
Right.
But some people, given the chance, would love to be rehabilitated back into it. And so more than a case-by-case basis is more of a crime-by-crime basis, but still looking into, okay, this person had all the resources and they still chose to break the law,
Right.
then they deserve something harsher.
So really, would you say it's kind of about giving the accused a choice and how they are punished or what rehabilitation they will have?
There is a little bit of choice. I am an intern in a law office, and whenever we're talking to the defendants, we do ask them, like, what would you like? And that doesn't mean they get to choose it, but they can. The judge plays a role in that, or the prosecutor plays a role in that. But they do have a little bit of choice of, I would like help. And so the choice isn't really, do you want to be incarcerated or would you rather go to a halfway house? It's like, given the option, if the judge is willing to give you the halfway house or the jury or whatever it is that's deciding your sentence, would you like that option? And if so, would you be willing to participate in it? Because if they're not going to give it the time of day, then let's give it to someone who actually wants it.
Right. Don't waste it on somebody who's not going to use it.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to run over the time allowed for this interview, but I do hope you'll come back. I think even discussing these concepts is so important, whether it's from a criminal justice perspective or a journalism perspective, even just a Christian perspective.
Yeah.
Is needed in this area of discussion. So, Jessica, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I hope you'll come back. This will be
Yes,
fun.
I'd love to.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this will be the last podcast before Christmas, so Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a Happy New Year. God bless you.